The evening had started with such promise. Jack Brennan sat at a corner table in Bellamy's, one of the city's nicest restaurants, checking his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. 7:45. His blind date was now 45 minutes late. He'd been set up by his sister Rachel, who'd insisted that her friend from yoga class was perfect for him. She's kind, she's smart. She's been through some stuff, but she's amazing. "Jack, just give it a chance," Rachel had pleaded. At 36, Jack had given up on the idea of finding someone. His life was consumed by his work as the CEO of Brennan Technologies, the software company his father had founded, and Jack had grown into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Relationships had always taken a backseat to quarterly reports and product launches. But lately, the empty house he came home to each night had started to feel less like a refuge and more like a prison. So he'd agreed to the blind date. He'd put on his best white shirt, arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a drink, and waited, and waited. Now, as the minutes ticked past, Jack was beginning to feel foolish. She'd stood him up. It happened. He should just pay for his drink and leave. Salvage what remained of his Friday evening. He was about to signal for the check when he heard a small voice. "Excuse me, are you Jack?" He looked down to find a little girl standing beside his table. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with blonde hair pulled back in a small ponytail, wearing a pink dress that had a small stain on the hem. She was looking at him with serious blue eyes. Jack blinked in surprise. Yes, I'm Jack." The girl nodded solemnly. "My mommy's sorry she's late. She had to work. And then the babysitter didn't show up, and she tried to cancel. But you weren't answering your phone." She said all of this in one breath, as if she'd been practicing it. Jack felt his phone vibrate in his pocket and pulled it out, to see 3 missed calls and several text messages. He'd put it on silent when he'd arrived at the restaurant. "Oh," he said, looking at the messages. "All from an unknown number. I'm so sorry running late. Emergency at work. Sent at 6:30. Babysitter canceled. I'm trying to find someone else. Sent at 7:15. I can't find anyone. I have to bring my daughter. I'll understand if you want to reschedule. Sent at 7:30. I'm outside with Lily. We're leaving. I'm so sorry to waste your evening." That last message had been sent 2 minutes ago. Jack looked back at the little girl, Lily apparently. "Your mom is here?" "She's outside. She said it's not appropriate to bring a kid to a fancy grown-up date, and she was going to call you tomorrow to apologize." Lily tilted her head. "But I wanted to meet you. Aunt Rachel said you're nice. Are you nice?" Despite everything, Jack found himself smiling. "I try to be. Did your mom send you in here alone?" "She doesn't know I came in," Lily admitted. "She's on the phone with Aunt Rachel, and I saw you through the window, and you looked sad. So I thought I should tell you we're here." Jack stood up. "Well, I appreciate that, Lily. Should we go find your mom before she worries?" Lily took his hand with the easy trust of young children, and Jack felt something unexpected in his chest, a warmth, a protectiveness. He let her lead him through the restaurant toward the entrance. Outside, a woman was pacing on the sidewalk, phone pressed to her ear, her free hand pushing through dark honey-colored hair in obvious distress. She wore a simple navy dress and looked tired, worried, and beautiful in a way that made Jack's breath catch. "Rachel, I know, I'm sorry," she was saying. It was such a disaster. I'll call him tomorrow and apologize." "I'm sure he thinks I'm—" "Lily! Lily!" She spun around, her eyes wide with panic. "Where did you—" She stopped abruptly when she saw Lily holding Jack's hand. "Mommy, this is Jack!" Lily announced proudly. "I told him you were sorry." The woman, Jack's date, looked mortified. "Oh my God, Lily, you can't just walk into restaurants alone." "What if—" She covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry." "I'm Emma Parker. This is the worst first impression in the history of first impressions." "Actually," Jack said, "your daughter is quite charming. She told me what happened, which was good because I'd put my phone on silent. I got your messages just now." Emma lowered her hands, looking at him with a mixture of hope and resignation. "I completely understand if you want to call it a night. This is not what you signed up for." Jack looked down at Lily, who was gazing up at him with those serious blue eyes, and then back at Emma, who looked like she was bracing for rejection. He thought about his empty house, about the quiet dinner he'd eat alone if he left now, and he thought about how Lily had noticed he looked sad. through a restaurant window and had come to deliver her mother's message personally. "Have you and Lily eaten dinner?" he asked. Emma blinked. "What? Dinner? Have you eaten?" "No, we haven't, but—" "Then why don't you both join me? If that's okay with you, Lily?" Lily's face lit up. "Can we, Mommy, please? I promise I'll use my best manners." Emma looked uncertain. "Jack, you don't have to—" "I know I don't have to," Jack said. "I want to. Come on. Let's have dinner." He saw the moment Emma's resistance crumbled, saw the relief and gratitude flood her expression. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, thank you." They went inside, and the hostess, after a moment of confusion, brought over a booster seat for Lily. She settled in between Jack and Emma, looking delighted with herself. "I'm sorry," Emma said again once they were seated. "This is so far from what Rachel probably told you to expect." "Rachel told me you were kind and smart and had been through some stuff," Jack said. "She didn't mention you had a daughter, but that's okay." "I asked her not to," Emma admitted. "I know that being a single mom can be, well, it makes dating complicated. I didn't want you to have preconceptions." "I get that," Jack said. "For what it's worth, I don't have kids. Never been married? Married to my job, as they say." "What do you do?" "I run a tech company. Software development. Mostly business solutions." He didn't mention that he was the CEO, that his company was worth millions. That could come later if there was a later. "That sounds interesting," Emma said, and she seemed genuinely curious. The server arrived, and they ordered. Lily asked for chicken fingers. "With the sauce on the side, please." "I like to dip." And Emma ordered a salmon dish while Jack went with steak. "So what do you do?" Jack asked Emma once the server had left. "I'm a pediatric nurse," Emma said. "I work at Children's Memorial. That's why I was late tonight. We had an emergency admission, a little boy who'd fallen off his bike. I couldn't leave until I knew he was stable." "That must be rewarding work," Jack said. "And demanding." "It is," Emma agreed. "But I love it. Kids are resilient. They bounce back in ways that amaze me every day." "Like this one?" Jack gestured to Lily, who was carefully arranging her napkin in her lap. Emma smiled, and Jack saw how much love was in that expression. "Lily is the most resilient person I know. She's been through a lot in her short life." "Because of her dad?" Jack asked carefully. Emma's expression tightened. "Her dad left when I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready to be a father. I haven't heard from him since." "I'm sorry," Jack said. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "It was," Emma said. "But we're doing okay now. It's just us, and we make it work. Most days, anyway. Today was not our finest moment." "I think you're being too hard on yourself," Jack said. "You had an emergency at work. Your childcare fell through, and you still managed to show up and apologize. That shows character." "She could have just texted," Emma pointed out. "True, but I'm glad she didn't." Their eyes met across the table, and Jack felt something shift. Some connection forming that went beyond the awkward circumstances of their meeting. Lily, who'd been quietly listening, spoke up. "Mommy, can I tell Jack about my drawing?" "Of course, sweetie." Lily launched into an enthusiastic description of a picture she'd drawn at preschool, complete with elaborate details about every color she'd used. Jack listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely interested in her excitement. Emma watched him with surprise. Most men she'd attempted to date had barely tolerated Lily's presence, treating her like an obstacle to be overcome. But Jack was engaging with her daughter like she mattered. Like her 4-year-old observations about crayon colors were genuinely important. Dinner arrived, and it turned out to be one of the most enjoyable meals Jack had had in years. Lily told jokes that made no sense but were hilarious in their earnestness. Emma slowly relaxed, her earlier stress melting away as the evening progressed. They talked about everything: Emma's work at the hospital, Jack's challenges with his company, their shared love of old movies, their vastly different approaches to cooking. "I can barely boil water," Jack admitted. "I eat out most nights or order in." "I love cooking," Emma said. "It's one of the few things that helps me de-stress. There's something therapeutic about chopping vegetables and following a recipe." "Mommy makes the best mac and cheese in the whole world," Lily declared. "And her cookies are better than the store ones." "That's high praise," Jack said seriously. As dinner wound down, Lily's energy began to flag. She leaned against her mother, her eyes drooping. "Someone's ready for bed," Emma said gently, stroking her daughter's hair. "I'm not tired," Lily protested, even as she yawned. Jack signaled for the check, but Emma tried to object. "At least let me pay for Lily and me." "Absolutely not," Jack said. "This was my invitation, remember? Terrible first date or not, I'm paying." "It wasn't terrible," Emma said quietly. "It was actually really nice. Unconventional, but nice." "I agree," Jack said. He paid the bill and they walked outside together. The evening air was cool and pleasant. "Can I give you both a ride home?" Jack offered. "I have my car." Emma hesitated, then nodded. "That would be really helpful, actually. We took public transportation and Lily's pretty tired." Jack's car was parked nearby, a nice sedan. Not ostentatiously expensive, but comfortable. Emma settled Lily into the back seat, and the little girl was asleep before they'd driven 2 blocks. "She's out," Emma said softly, glancing back at her daughter. "Thank you for tonight, Jack, for being so understanding, and for being so kind to Lily. That means more to me than you know." "She's a great kid," Jack said. "You're doing an amazing job with her." "I'm trying," Emma said. "It's hard sometimes doing it alone, but she makes it worth it." They drove through the city streets, the lights blurring past, and talked quietly about their lives. Emma shared more about Lily, how she was smart and funny, and sometimes struggled with the fact that she didn't have a dad like the other kids at preschool. Jack talked about his own childhood, about losing his mother young and being raised by his father, who'd poured all his grief into building a company. "Is that why you work so much?" Emma asked, following in his footsteps. "Probably," Jack admitted. "He died 3